Welcome to the American Chronicles podcast. I'm Vlad Vidic. Elbert Guillory is a former member of the Louisiana State Senate who represented District 24, including his native Opelousas, from May of 2009 to January of 2016. In 2013, Guillory gained national recognition when he switched parties, leaving the Democrats and joining the Republican Party, and becoming the Louisiana Senate's first Republican of African-American descent since Reconstruction. Guillory urged fellow African-Americans to join the GOP, a move he said was, quote, not only right for me, but for all my brothers and sisters in the black community. Guillory joined the show to discuss the challenge of bringing a message of empowerment and independence to a new generation of young, determined, and ambitious African Americans, and how citizen advocacy and action can lead to a brighter future for all Americans. Coming up next in the American Chronicles. We're joined now by Elbert Guillory. Elbert Guillory is a former member of the Louisiana State Senate. He's an African-American Republican. He represented District 24, including his native Opelousas, from May 2009 until January 2016, when his full term, to which he was elected in 2011, ended. In 2013, Guillory gained national recognition when he switched parties, leaving the Democrats and joining the Republican Party. In becoming the Louisiana Senate's first Republican of African-American descent since Reconstruction, he identified his former party as the Party of Jim Crow and celebrated the Party of Freedom and Progress, represented by the Republicans. Guillory urged his community members, telling them that the switch was not only right for me, but for all of my brothers and sisters in the black community. Senator Elbert Guillory, welcome to the American Chronicles.
Vlad, thank you. It's great to be here with you.
I am intrigued to have this opportunity to have this conversation with you because, like many Americans, I was blown away in 2013 when you switched parties from the Democrats to the Republicans in the Louisiana State Senate, and you released a video entitled "Why I Am a Republican," and that particular video really struck deeply for me and for a lot of other people, because in that video you laid out the primary differences between the party which you had been representing, the Democrats, and the party to which you were now switching, which was the Republicans, and you highlighted in there the differences not only in terms of policy, but in terms of ideology. And a lot of those things are very well known now. They've become part of the public record. What I'd like to really begin this conversation with is by asking you, since 2013, how far have we come? What has changed? Does that video, do the words that you spoke in that video still ring true to yourself? Have we made any progress on those issues?
We haven't made nearly enough progress. Those words are absolutely still true. The distinction between the two parties has become even clearer and even more pronounced, as you can see by just the Gorsuch matter in D.C. right now. Hysterical idiocy on one side and reasonable approach on the other. The values that I spoke about are even more. It is more important for us to defend those values: hard work, self-reliance, godliness. Those old-fashioned kinds of things, lest they be lost, because those values have been under attack in America. The Republican Party is working very hard to become more inclusive, more expansive. Today, you see Republicans in Hispanic neighborhoods, in black neighborhoods, in Asian neighborhoods, meeting people, talking, telling people who we are and what we are about, because for too long we've let other people tell our story and define us.
One challenge it seems that we face as a nation is in a very real way, trying to rediscover our identity. And in a lot of ways, the politics of the past still form a burden that weighs down any form of progress to move on to a new recognition of who we need to be and who we need to become. Well, what are your thoughts on what we can do, I guess, starting politically, but in a way culturally, to really move past the politics of the past, to move past a lot of those issues that have held us down towards a new future where we can really engage in achieving progress on the issues that really bind us together?
We have to, as part of our education system, we have to bring children up with the understanding that they are Americans, and not divided or hyphenated Americans. We need to point out that there have been some dark moments in our history, but their history, the issue of slavery, still is a hot button issue to people today. But slavery has been over for almost 200 years now. No one alive today ever owned slaves. For people to continue to battle that issue is absolute folly. I mean, we have so many things in common, and so few things that separate us. We're in the same boat, and if we don't start to teach that to young people at a very early age, we're going to continue to be divided by this petty issues. Age, young versus old, North versus South, and of course that race issue that always plays into so many people's conversations. That's foolishness. We are Americans. We face common enemies. We face common problems. The education system in America today, which has collapsed, is a problem that affects all of us: Hispanics, Asians, whites, blacks, women, men, old people, young people. The fact that there's so little safety in our cities, the leading cause of death of young black men being other young black men with guns, joblessness, the immigration problems affect all of us. So we've got to pull together, or we will sink.
We're speaking with former state senator of Louisiana, Elbert Guillory. You can find his information online in a multitude of ways. You can go to elbertguillory.com and you'll find some information there. You can also go to his political action group, which is Elbert Guillory's America. It's at Elbert Guillory's. There's no apostrophe, obviously, in the web address, elbertguillorysamerica.com. You can also follow him on Twitter. He's at Elbert Guillory, and on Facebook, where he's Elbert Lee Guillory. Senator Guillory, one thing that has changed recently, obviously, is the election of Donald Trump as president of the United States rather than Hillary Clinton, and that really changed the potential for the dynamic in Washington, D.C. It seems as if in the first, 75 days or so since President Trump was inaugurated, Democrats seem to be up to their old tricks, and they are doing everything they can to obstruct and create gridlock for the administration in trying to achieve their agenda. You mentioned that earlier with referencing the confirmation hearings and the vote to confirm Neil Gorsuch as the newest Associate Justice of the Supreme Court later this week. You have taken a lot of time to discuss the potential of the Trump administration working with the black community, even engaging possibly with the Congressional Black Caucus to really find a way to engage the potential for this vast community of young, determined, ambitious, entrepreneurial African American youth that are looking for a new way forward. They know that what their parents did, what their grandparents did, with Democrat policies in place didn't work. They're looking for a new way forward, and you've been very clear on your ideas with regard to how we can engage, or how the Trump administration should engage with those communities. Talk to us a little bit about that, and what the Trump administration can and should do going forward.
The first thing that I love about the Trump administration is that he's addressing the spending problem. President Bush left us $6 trillion in the hole, or $7 trillion in the hole. President Obama increased that to $20 trillion of national debt. That debt is a greater threat to us than ISIS is, and he's addressing that, and it's on behalf of all Americans. He is also addressing the problem of jobs, and that is wonderful for every single American, to re-stimulate the economy, to reinvigorate the American economy is what he's doing, is what he has been good at all of his life, and it's going to be absolutely wonderful for us. His policies in the Middle East, absolutely wonderful. We need to fight ISIS, and we need to stop choosing winners and losers. This business of the Arab Spring, where Obama decided that he would go out and decide who should be head of Syria and who should be head of Libya, removed the strong men who had protected those countries and knocked them out in Libya and in Syria, among others, in Egypt also. But Libya and Syria particularly, which became then hotbeds for ISIS. He created the vacuums for ISIS. It's not our job to select leaders for other countries, we should get involved where we have a burning national interest. And all of that humbug, that Arab Spring humbug, turned out to be a big mess for us, but we're getting out of it now. We're straightening it out. Trump's efforts in the black community have been absolutely wonderful. Haven't been met. You have to have a dialogue, and that requires two people. He's tried to talk with the Congressional Black Caucus, and he's made some wonderful overtures and talked about education and about jobs and immigration policies with them. They have yet to respond favorably. They're still stuck on those policies of the past, and that's unfortunate. Most of them are, I think there are about 2 or 3 black folks who are in the Congressional Black Caucus. All the rest are Democrats. I mean Republican folks. The rest are Democrats. But we will see how that plays out. His door is open, and his ears are open, and his heart is good, and he's going to work with the minority community. Whether it'll be through the Congressional Black Caucus or not will remain to be seen. And finally, Trump's choice, the Supreme Court, Gorsuch, who just a few years ago was approved 99-0, almost unanimous in the Senate, and now some of the same people who voted for him before suddenly find that he's not acceptable. The only thing that's changed is that today he's being put forth by Donald Trump, and they hate Trump and everything that he stands for. Such petty partisanship does not belong in a great nation like this. We need to stop. Those Democrats need to stop that.
You know, you bring up a very interesting point, because the Democrats have consistently, over the years, always demonstrated a profound hatred, a profound sense of violence and hatred towards the Republicans, towards conservatism, towards the right, but they're never called out on it. They never pay a price for it politically. They're able to get away with it consistently. Even when you were serving in the Louisiana State Senate, you mentioned that the dichotomy between the Republicans and Democrats, the differences between the parties was so extreme that you had no choice but to leave the Democrats and join the Republicans. Is there any hope of changing that anytime soon? Because it seems as if we have two parties in Washington and even, well, across America really, but really focused in Washington, D.C., that are so polar opposites that there's no way whatsoever for them to come together to work together on anything, really.
You're absolutely correct, and it's so sad. The Obamacare issue is a perfect example of that. We have a health care crisis. Not enough people are covered by, they don't have access to health care. And that's an issue, and that should not be an issue in a great nation such as we are, a nation that can throw trillions of dollars down garbage holes all over the world. Certainly we should be able to take care of our own people, our elderly, our veterans, our young people. So we have to we American citizens have to force Democrats to sit down and work with Republicans and hammer out not Trump care, not Obamacare, but Americare, something that's American. They need to put aside their little petty feelings. They're all hurt because their candidate didn't win. Okay, it's over. It's done with. It's time to work for America now. The election was finished. You can blame it on the Russians, you can blame it on the Peruvians, you can blame it on the Martians, but Trump won.
Right. One thing that really was no surprise to me at all was recently you were asked by the Republican Party of Louisiana to lead outreach efforts in traditionally non-Republican communities. And while you're doing that in Louisiana, that's great, and I salute you, and we all think you're going to do fantastically at that. We need something like that across all 50 states. We need something like that in every single community across America. What have you seen so far in your efforts to reach out to some of these communities that can be translated to the other states across America? Because it's clear that we need to have some kind of engagement with these communities that have either been left behind or have been forgotten by both parties in a very real way. More likely than not, they've been abandoned by the Democrats, but the Republicans for years never had to engage with them, and now suddenly there's a pressing need not only within those communities but within the Republican Party as well. And in order to expand, in order to thrive, we need to get together with those people. I mean, using your experience, using what you've seen on the ground, what can we do to translate those successes across all 50 states?
One of the things that, when I took this position, Roger Guillory, head of the Louisiana GOP, said, I want you to reach into every community in Louisiana and let them know that we are here and that we care and that our policies benefit all Americans. And the second thing that he said was that he wants Louisiana to be a model so that every other state can follow our blueprint to reach into communities and become absolutely inclusive. And we are doing that. We are putting together a model of public relations, human relations. We're going into churches, radio, television, social media, religious organizations, fraternities, sororities, young people, old people. They will hear us coming. They will see our troops on the ground.
We're speaking with former state senator Elbert Guillory. He is actively involved in engaging with those who have been left behind and those who have been forgotten. You can see his website at elbertguillory.com. You can also see his political action group Elbert Guillory's America at the website Elbert Guillory's, no apostrophe there, just elbertguillorysamerica.com. You can follow him on Twitter, where he's at Elbert Guillory, and you can see him on Facebook, where he is Elbert Lee Guillory. Mr. Guillory, one thing that the Trump administration seems to be struggling with is having a cohesive agenda that doesn't stumble over itself. You have expressed some support for a renewed enforcement of immigration policies, and it seems as if you had some concerns as far as implementation and in terms of addressing the situation head on. What advice do you have for the Trump administration with regard to how we handle immigration? Obviously, we have the travel restrictions that were issued for some countries in the Middle East that were identified by the Obama administration as being problematic because of the lack of government oversights in each of those countries. We also have President Trump's declared policy that he announced throughout the campaign that he wanted to build a border wall and he wanted to have increased enforcement on the southern border. What is your perspective on those issues?
With respect to the southern border, first, two things. Drugs. The southern border right now is a sieve, and drugs are coming in. Some of the opiates that are destroying our communities. A lot of the cocaine, I guess most of the cocaine is coming in through our southern border. The high-grade marijuana is coming in. That drug problem is something that must be addressed, and that border must be closed to those drugs coming into our country. The second issue is the economic issue. There are many jobs that need to be done by Americans who are too often sitting at home receiving a government check. So new people come in, take those jobs, and their families start to receive the government check. So it's a double-edged sword that is, and both edges are cutting our country. So we must take care of the southern border issue. With respect to the Middle East issue, I'm dumbfounded that anyone could fail to understand we are at war in many of these countries. Our soldiers, our bullets, our bombs are killing people there, and justifiably so. But when we are killing their neighbors, their nephews, their sons, their fathers, their brothers, they get angry with us and want to come here and harm us. So it makes sense not to let people in from war zones into this country, because we can't vet them carefully enough to know whether they are pro us or against us.
Right.
So I'm in favor of what Trump has done to stop the travel from those countries, and I believe that he should tell the judges. The Constitution makes it clear that this is his responsibility. He should tell the judge to go and sit on his thumbs, because he has the obligation. Trump has the obligation. Trump has the Marines and the Army divisions to enforce it, and he should do it. He should tell the judges to go and sit somewhere in the corner, but he's going to ignore them. I'm ex-Navy, and so I'm trying to find words.
some euphemisms for those things.
Trying not to use nautical terms.
Nautical terms. It's hard sometimes to translate that military experience into civilian parlance.
Yes, it is.
You took a brave stand in 2013 when you switched from the Democrats to the Republicans. It was something that a lot of people really did not see it coming. In fact, in the video that you put out, you said that many people said it was a bold move, but you considered it the simply the logical thing to do.
Yes.
Throughout history, America's had shining examples of Black Americans who were principled, committed leaders who led by example, who led by character. We had Frederick Douglass. We had Martin Luther King Jr. Recently, we've had Republicans elected to Congress, specifically Senator Tim Scott, South Carolina. We've had Representative Mia Love of Utah, who are shining examples of that same tradition, that same character, that same principled set of ideas come into the light and become leaders that not only for their states, not only for their communities, but really for America. And yet, as soon as they arrive on the national stage, they're immediately attacked by the left, by Democrats, by other African Americans within their own community, and they're called just the most awful, vicious names and slandered and libeled. What can we do as Americans to really not only encourage more of these principled Black Republicans to come forward and run for office and take that step to become leaders of their community, to become leaders of their states and their countries, without them really having to worry too much about knowing that they're going to be attacked? What can we do to support them in those efforts?
The job that you're doing right now, helping to spread the word and spread the truth, is very important. We must tell our story. We must tell the true story of republicanism and of Democrat fanaticism. Unfortunately, people don't learn in schools the history of the Republican Party, the history of the Democrat Party. If people just looked at the histories, those two histories, one was the history of freedom and ending slavery. That's what the Republican Party was born as folks who were working together to end slavery, abolitionists. And the Democrat Party was the party of Jim Crow, the party of the Klan, the party of lynchings, and all of these governors and sheriffs who beat people who were seeking to find freedom, stood in the doorways of the schools to prevent little black children from going in. All of those people were Democrats. And we just have to tell the true stories. One of the things that we're doing in Louisiana is working to tell the stories of those Democrats. Even President Johnson, when he signed the 64 or 65 Civil Rights Act, said, we're going to give them a little something, not enough to make a difference. These are his exact words. Just enough to keep them quiet. I'll have those, and he used the N-word, voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Mm. And that has worked. But black folk don't know that was said and don't know that was the plan. And we are going to yank the sheets off the Democrats and expose them for what they are.
Mr. Guillory, you are someone that has been a leader in Louisiana for a long time. You've represented your community. You've represented your state. First and foremost, I want to ask you if you have any plans for the future in terms of political office, if you plan to run again for anything. But also, secondly, I wanted to ask you about your political action group, which is Elbert Guillory's America. Talk to us about what you're accomplishing with that group, what mission you're engaged on specifically with that group, and how you're achieving it.
Expanding republicanism and telling the real truth about American politics is our primary mission. We are getting good traction in many communities. 16% of black Louisianans voted for Trump. And we take some credit for that, of expanding the Republican tent and letting people know The truth. When people understand the truth, they are able to vote their interests and not vote some weird thing that has been told to us, and some story that is being foisted upon us. So it's expanding the message, telling people the truth is what we have been doing, and we're having some good success at it. We are going to continue to do it. If anyone out there has an idea that we can use, please contact us. Let us know. Give us your support, your prayers, your ideas. This is God's work. This is America's work.
We've been speaking with Senator Elbert Guillory. He's a former state senator of Louisiana. You can find his website at albertguillory.com, and his political action group, Elbert Guillory's America, is at albertguillorysamerica.com, with no apostrophe in that, obviously. You can follow him on Twitter at Elbert Guillory, and find him on Facebook, where he's Elbert Lee Guillory. Mr. Guillory is someone who's following in the footsteps of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King Jr., and engaging his community in not only winning the future, but moving beyond the past and finding a new way forward. Thank you so much for joining us here on the American Chronicles.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the job that you do. Please continue.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Check out my website, vladdavidyak.com, and make sure you follow me on Twitter, at vladdavidyak. Lots of cool stuff there. You'll love it. Please give the show a really great rating and review on iTunes. It really helps other people find us when they're searching for a cool show that they might actually love. As always, until the next time, remember, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty, and freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction.